The courtroom in downtown Seattle was packed tighter than a rush-hour ferry as Emery Thompson stood at the defendant's table, my knees locked so they would not buckle. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman in a navy suit, jabbed her finger toward me and declared that I had kidnapped my own 5-year-old daughter Mia from her rightful family. Whispers rippled through the gallery like wind through dry leaves. Charlotte sat just behind me, her hand resting on the wooden rail, her fingers white from gripping it too hard. I could feel every eye on us, judging the two women who dared to call themselves mothers. But when the bailiff handed the judge the birth certificate and he read the names aloud, his face went slack, the gavel hovering mid-air as he saw Emery Thompson and Charlotte Hayes both listed as legal mothers. The room fell into a stunned silence that pressed against my chest like a weight I had carried for years. How had it come to this? 2 years earlier I had walked into a small support group in Capitol Hill, not expecting to find the woman who would upend my entire world. Charlotte was there, fresh from Texas, her southern drawl soft against the Pacific Northwest rain. She spoke about leaving behind a family that saw her truth as a sin, and I felt something crack open inside me. We talked after the meeting over bad coffee, and by the third date we were finishing each other's sentences. Love hit us fast and certain, the kind that makes you believe anything is possible. When we decided to get married in California, it felt like claiming our future. Her mother, Mrs. Hayes, had screamed over the phone that we were destroying God's plan, but Charlotte hung up and cried in my arms, only to whisper the next morning that she wanted a family with me. We chose Charlotte to carry the baby using an anonymous donor, because she longed to feel life grow inside her. The pregnancy was rough, with morning sickness that lasted months, and nights when she would wake doubting if she could be the mother our child deserved, while I rubbed her back and promised we would figure it out together. Her family cut contact almost completely except for occasional guilt-laced texts from her sister Anna. My own father tried to be supportive, but I saw the worry in his eyes every time we visited, the questions he never asked about what people would say. Still we pushed forward, decorating the nursery in soft yellows and greens. Mia arrived on a stormy April night, her first cry filling the hospital room like a promise. The birth certificate was filed with both our names because Washington law allowed it, and for a while it felt like victory. We brought her home to our little house in Ballard where the neighbors waved, and the world seemed kinder. But cracks appeared early. Charlotte received a letter from her mother demanding to see the baby alone, claiming I had no real claim. I held Charlotte as she tore it up, tears streaming down her face, whispering that she would never let anyone take our family apart. I believed her then. The first real confrontation came at Mia's first birthday when Anna showed up unannounced with their mother in tow. Mrs. Hayes stood in our living room, eyes blazing, calling our home unnatural, and demanding Charlotte come home to Texas where she could raise Mia properly. Charlotte stepped between us, her voice steady for the first time in months, telling her mother that this was her family now. The door slammed behind them and the silence that followed was heavier than any argument. I pulled Charlotte close, feeling the tremble in her shoulders, and wondered for the first time if love was enough when the world kept pulling us apart. Inside I wrestled with my own doubts. Was I selfish for wanting this life, knowing it would expose Mia to stares and whispers at preschool? Charlotte sensed it one night as we lay awake listening to Mia's soft breathing through the monitor. She turned to me, eyes searching, and asked if I regretted any of it. I told her no, but the words felt thin against the growing pressure. Work at the graphic design firm started to shift. Colleagues who once congratulated us now avoided eye contact after a local news piece on same-sex parents stirred debate. I lost a big client who cited family values, and Charlotte faced similar sidelong glances at her teaching job. We told ourselves it was temporary, that our love and Mia's laughter would shield us. Yet every time Mia asked why some kids at the park did not want to play, I felt the cost etching deeper into my heart. The months after Mia's second birthday brought small joys that we clung to like lifelines. Weekends at Golden Gardens Beach where Charlotte would build sandcastles with Mia, while I captured the moments on my phone. Evenings when the three of us curled on the couch reading books about brave princesses who loved other princesses. Charlotte glowed in motherhood, her once hesitant hands now confident as she braided Mia's hair or kissed scraped knees. I watched her and felt a fierce pride mixed with fear because I knew the outside world was sharpening its knives. My internal storm grew quieter on those days but never vanished entirely. I questioned if I deserved to stand beside her as a mother when biology had not granted me that first bond, yet the law and our hearts said otherwise. Then the betrayal began quietly. Anna started calling Charlotte more often, her voice sweet with concern, asking for photos of Mia and offering to visit. Charlotte wanted to believe her sister had softened, so we agreed to a lunch in a neutral park. Anna arrived alone, at first hugging Charlotte tightly and cooing over Mia. I stayed back letting them reconnect, but I caught Anna glancing at me with something cold behind her smile. That night Charlotte was hopeful, saying maybe the family was coming around. I wanted to believe it too, but a nagging voice whispered caution. Weeks later Anna called again, this time with their mother on the line. The conversation turned sharp, Mrs. Hayes accusing me of brainwashing Charlotte and demanding legal access to Mia as blood kin. Charlotte hung up shaking, but the damage was done. The real fracture came when Charlotte confided in Anna about our struggles, the late-night talks where I admitted the weight of being the non-biological parent and how society made me feel lesser. Anna listened, then twisted those words, feeding them back to their mother, who used them to paint me as unstable. I confronted Charlotte after finding out through a mutual friend. She broke down in the kitchen, admitting she had been desperate for family approval and never meant harm. The hurt cut deep, not because she shared our private moments, but because it showed how the pressure still pulled at her. I forgave her because love demanded it, yet the trust felt newly fragile. We held each other that night, promising to shield Mia from the storm, but inside I wondered how many more cracks we could withstand before something shattered. Societal judgment seeped in everywhere. At Mia's preschool, a parent complained about our family picture on the bulletin board, calling it inappropriate. The director called us in for a meeting, her words polite, but laced with concern about fitting in. Charlotte defended us fiercely, her voice rising as she listed the rights we had fought for. I sat silent, feeling the familiar shame rise, but also a growing anger that fueled my resolve. We pulled Mia from that school and found a more progressive one, but the move cost us time and money we did not have. My job suffered next when a promotion went to someone else, the boss citing my recent family leave without saying the real reason. Charlotte faced whispers in the teacher's lounge and came home one day with red eyes after a parent pulled their child from her class. Through it all we leaned on each other. Late nights talking through the pain, Charlotte admitting her guilt for bringing her family's hate into our lives, and me confessing my fear that I could not protect Mia from a world that saw us as wrong. Those conversations stripped us bare, revealing the moral tangle we lived in. Was it right to raise a child in the face of such opposition? Or were we selfish for insisting on our truth? Mia remained our light, her innocent questions about why Grandma did not visit forcing us to choose words carefully. We told her families come in all shapes and love is what matters, but each explanation carried the weight of the battles we hid. The tension built slowly, like a storm gathering on the horizon, and I felt it in my bones that the worst was yet to come. By the time Mia turned 4, the external pressures had carved deep lines into our daily life. We had moved to a quieter neighborhood hoping for peace, but news of our family spread through local circles. Charlotte received anonymous letters slipped under our door calling us sinners and unfit. I burned them before she could see, but the fear lingered. Internally I battled a growing sense of inadequacy every time Mia reached for Charlotte first in a moment of need. Logically I knew love was not measured by blood, but the whispers from society, and now my own mind made it feel otherwise. Charlotte noticed and would pull me aside, whispering that I was her rock, her chosen family. Her words helped, yet the doubt festered like an untreated wound. The confrontation that broke the fragile peace happened at a family wedding in Portland that Charlotte's side invited us to as a supposed olive branch. We drove down with Mia, excited for the trip. The ceremony was beautiful, but the reception turned sour when Mrs. Hayes cornered Charlotte in the hallway, demanding she leave me and return home with Mia for a proper upbringing. Voices rose and I stepped in, only to be accused by Anna of stealing her sister and the child. Guests stared as security escorted us out. On the long drive home, Charlotte cried silently while Mia slept in the back. I gripped the wheel, fighting my own rage and helplessness. That night, after putting Mia to bed, we sat on the porch talking until dawn. Charlotte questioned if staying with me was worth the pain she was causing our daughter. I held her hand and asked if leaving would truly make any of us happier. The moral choice hung between us, neither fully right nor wrong, just devastating. Back in Seattle, things escalated. Anna filed a complaint with Child Services, anonymously claiming emotional neglect, based on the twisted words Charlotte had once shared. Investigators visited our home, asking pointed questions about our relationship and Mia's well-being. We answered honestly, showing the loving home we had built, but the process left us exhausted and paranoid. I lost sleep imagining Mia being taken away. Charlotte withdrew into herself, her teaching performance slipping until she took unpaid leave. The betrayal from Anna cut deepest because she had pretended reconciliation only to strike when we were vulnerable. I confronted her over the phone, my voice steady but inside boiling. She hung up without apology, claiming she was saving Mia from a sinful life. Our circle of friends shrank. Some stopped returning calls after the investigation became neighborhood gossip. One close friend, Sarah, who had been at our wedding, sat us down and admitted her own family pressured her to distance herself. The trade-off was clear: support us and lose your world, or conform and keep peace. She chose the latter, and her departure left a hole. Charlotte and I clung tighter, turning inward to protect what remained. We celebrated small wins like Mia's kindergarten graduation, where she proudly introduced us both as her moms to anyone who asked. Those moments reminded us why we fought, but they also highlighted the price. My health suffered anxiety attacks that left me gasping in the bathroom, while Charlotte rubbed my back, whispering we would survive. She faced her own demons, questioning if her choice to love me had doomed Mia to a life of otherness. We talked through the nights, weighing if running away to another state would solve anything or just delay the inevitable. The decision to stand our ground came after a particularly bad day when Mia came home asking why some kids said she had two moms but no real dad. We explained as best we could, then held her close, promising our love was enough. That night Charlotte looked at me with renewed fire and said we had built this family with intention and sacrifice and no one would tear it down. I believed her then more than ever. Yet the court summons arrived 2 weeks later, accusing me specifically of kidnapping because I had taken Mia to a doctor's appointment without notifying the extended family. The charge was absurd but rooted in their refusal to accept our legal status. We hired a lawyer and prepared to fight, knowing this was the climax we had feared. The internal conflict raged on: was defending our rights courageous or reckless when it dragged Mia into the spotlight? The weeks leading to the court date were a blur of strategy sessions and sleepless nights. Our lawyer warned that even with the birth certificate, the opposing side would paint us as deviant influencers unfit for parenthood. Charlotte pored over legal documents at the kitchen table, her eyes hollow from stress. I took over most of Mia's care, trying to keep her world normal with park visits and bedtime stories, while inside I replayed every choice that led us here. Had I pushed too hard for this life, knowing Charlotte's family background? The guilt was a constant companion, whispering that my love had cost her everything. She would catch me staring and pull me into a hug, reminding me that we chose each other freely. Those embraces grounded me, yet the moral tangle remained: was our happiness worth the family's pain, or were we the villains in their story? Mia sensed the tension, asking more questions about Grandma, and why we could not all be friends. We answered gently, but each conversation chipped at my resolve. One afternoon she drew a picture of our family with two moms, and a big heart around us, then asked if it was okay. I nearly broke down, affirming that love like ours was beautiful. Charlotte joined us on the floor, turning the moment into a family ritual that reaffirmed our bond. Those pockets of peace kept us going amid the storm. Work became impossible for both of us, so we lived on savings, watching the balance dwindle. Friends who remained offered quiet support, but the isolation grew. A former colleague reached out anonymously, warning that Mrs. Hayes had contacted local media, framing us as a cautionary tale against same-sex parenting. The betrayal network spread wider than we imagined. The night before the first hearing, Charlotte and I sat on the back porch under stars that felt indifferent. She confessed her deepest fear: that if we lost Mia, she would never forgive herself for choosing me over tradition. I admitted mine: that without legal recognition, I would always feel like a shadow parent. We cried together, then made love with a tenderness born of desperation. No words, just touch and presence, reminding us why we fought. Morning came too soon, and we dropped Mia at a trusted friend's house before heading to court. The building loomed like a fortress as we walked in hand, drawing strength from each other. The prosecutor opened with dramatic flair, recounting how I had supposedly isolated Mia from biological kin. Our lawyer countered with the ironclad birth certificate and adoption papers, but the judge requested time to review. That delay stretched into days of waiting, where every ring of the phone made my heart race. Charlotte retreated into books about resilience, quoting passages to me at night. I channeled energy into creating a scrapbook of our family memories, proof that love existed beyond papers. Mia returned home bubbling with stories from her playdate, oblivious to the war around her. Her innocence sharpened the stakes, reminding us the real victim was the child we both adored. Internal awakening stirred slowly as I realized that every sacrifice had forged a stronger us. Yet doubt lingered, was standing firm, teaching me a strength, or exposing her to unnecessary hurt. The hearing resumed and new evidence from Anna surfaced, twisted emails suggesting coercion. Charlotte gasped beside me, her sister's words cutting like knives. I squeezed her hand, fighting the urge to scream at the injustice. The judge called a recess, and in that quiet moment I saw Charlotte's face harden with resolve. We would not break. The evidence phase dragged on, exposing every private corner of our lives. Anna took the stand, her voice steady as she described Charlotte as confused and me as manipulative. The courtroom murmured, and I felt Charlotte's body tense beside me. Our lawyer cross-examined, revealing Anna's own history of strained relationships, but the damage was done. Mrs. Hayes followed, painting a picture of a stolen daughter and a wayward child. Charlotte whispered to me during a break that she felt orphaned all over again. I held her gaze, promising we were each other's family now. The moral weight pressed harder. Was blood thicker than chosen love, or had we deluded ourselves? Outside, court reporters waited with cameras flashing questions about our fitness as parents. We pushed through, heads high, but each step cost us. At home, Mia asked why everyone was mad at us, and we explained as simply as possible that some people did not understand different kinds of families. Her confusion mirrored our own inner turmoil. Nights blurred into strategy talks with our lawyer, who warned the case could go either way despite the law. I started journaling my thoughts, pouring out the fear that I had failed as a mother by bringing this chaos. Charlotte read entries one night and cried, saying my words showed the depth of my love. We held each other until dawn, trading stories of early days to remember the joy before the fight. A turning point came when a surprise witness, our former neighbor, testified to the loving home we provided. Her words cut through the prejudice like light in darkness. The prosecutor tried to discredit her, but the seed of doubt was planted in the judge's mind. Charlotte and I walked out that day with cautious hope. Yet betrayal struck again when my own distant cousin leaked details to the press, twisting our story into a scandal. The article hit local news and job offers dried up completely. We faced the choice to flee or stay, and fight, knowing either path carried heavy costs. Charlotte suggested therapy for all of us, and we began sessions where the counselor helped untangle our guilt. I realized through those talks that my role as mother was defined by presence, not biology. The awakening felt profound yet fragile against ongoing attacks. MIA's 6th birthday approached amid the chaos. We planned a small celebration at home with the few friends left, inviting her favorite teacher and a neighbor child. Laughter filled the house for a few hours, Mia blowing out candles, wishing for a puppy. In that moment, the world narrowed to us three, and I felt the rightness of our fight. Charlotte caught my eye across the table, her smile soft with shared understanding. Later, as we cleaned up, she admitted the hearing had forced her to confront her past and choose us fully. The trade-off was clear: we had lost much but gained an unbreakable core. The next court day brought closing arguments where our lawyer highlighted the legal recognition and the stable life we provided. The prosecutor appealed to emotion, calling for traditional values. The judge reserved decision, promising a ruling soon. We left the building exhausted but united, the tension peaking like a wave about to crash. The final hearing day arrived with rain pounding the courthouse windows, mirroring the storm inside me. We sat waiting for the judge, his face unreadable as he reviewed notes. Mia waited at home with our trusted sitter, unaware this day could change everything. The prosecutor made one last plea, framing our family as experimental and risky. Our lawyer countered with evidence of MIA's happiness school records and the binding birth certificate. The room held its breath as the judge cleared his throat and spoke. He acknowledged the legal validity of our parentage, the birth certificate irrefutable proof that both Charlotte and I were mothers in the eyes of the law. The kidnapping charge was dismissed with prejudice and custody remained ours. Relief flooded me so strong my legs nearly gave way. Charlotte squeezed my hand, tears streaming silently. Yet victory tasted bittersweet. Mrs. Hayes stood and left without a word, Anna following with a final glare that promised ongoing war. Outside, the media swarmed, but we slipped away to collect Mia. She ran into our arms asking if we won, and we told her yes, our family was safe. That evening we celebrated quietly with ice cream and stories, Mia falling asleep between us. In the quiet after, Charlotte turned to me and said the fight had shown her what mattered most. I agreed, but the scars remained. We had traded relationships, careers, and peace for this moment, and the moral question lingered. Had we done right by insisting on our truth, or had love blinded us to the broader cost to everyone involved? Weeks passed with tentative normalcy. We rebuilt, slowly finding new work and reconnecting with supportive friends. Mia thrived, asking fewer questions about the past. Yet family pressure continued through letters and distant relatives calling. Charlotte blocked most but kept one line open, hoping for eventual healing. I supported her choice, knowing forgiveness was her journey. My own awakening solidified. I no longer questioned my place as mother. The experience forged us stronger, proving that chosen family could withstand the fiercest storms. Still, in quiet moments, I wondered about the price paid, and whether society would ever fully accept us. As we sat on the beach one sunny afternoon watching Mia chase waves, Charlotte leaned against me and whispered that every sacrifice had been worth it. I kissed her forehead, believing her. Our story was not over, but the core held firm. In the end, when two women build a life against all odds, defying family expectations and social norms, is protecting that love at any cost the moral victory, or does it render them responsible for the pain left in their wake? What do you think? Was our fight truly right, or were we wrong to make our daughter pay the price of our choices?